All right, hello everyone, and welcome back to the Breadcrumbs Project. And we are featuring a very, uh, for lack of a better word, a very powerful storyline about what has happened to the Americas and why it's called Latin America. So, yes, here we are. Why it's called Latin America? I've been doing a series on it. Very proud of the work I've done. It's all at the very amateur level, but um, but yes, it feels absolutely fantastic. Oh, sorry, there are our sorry, that's my what's up group. Um, very amateur uh, 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 recording conditions, documentation conditions, but I have 3 books out. I've published 4 books on these subjects that I'm talking about, and nobody's really come back and been able to challenge what I'm saying. So after I lay out all the all the evidence I have, it's it's conclusive. It is absolutely conclusive that the Romans split, and the Gallic Empire was the Western Roman Empire, and the Eastern Roman Empire uh, really manifests itself into the Roman Catholic Church. So, uh, man, I'm sorry about the noises that keep popping up. I can't really stop it. So, yeah, uh, but it should stop hopefully soon. So, uh, around 200 AD, and we have to understand something, and I've been making this point along the way several times, that 200 AD in the records isn't the Gregorian calendar that we're used to. So 20, 2200 AD, 200 AD is not 800, 1800 years ago or so. Okay. The Everything that we are seeing and experiencing as far as dating goes to the Roman calendar. Goes to the Roman calendar. Unless it has been written within the last 500 years. And a lot of that, as we know, has been changed. But we've gone through 3 calendars. There's the Roman calendar, and everything that the Latins base their dating on is on the Roman calendar and Roman dating. Then came the Julian calendar, established by Julius Caesar. Julius Caesar is shady at best. All right. Julius Caesar translated into into English is stop July. Julius, July, Caesar, July, stop July. I don't believe that's that man's name. And I believe just about everything that we've been fed about the Romans for the most part is just that is old plays, things that we would attribute to good documentation could be just nonsense written, and it's troubling at best. So I look at everything as far as dating, as far as the Americas go, as far as Latin America goes, from a Roman date, which is 2778. So had a nice conversation with Grok about this, and for the Roman calendar, it's not a straight line. A straight line. Ancient Romans counted from their city's founding in 57 BC. So 2000, 2,779 years since then. And I've checked this in several areas. So BC is actually more than 2,700 years ago. It's not the BC that we're looking at from the Gregorian calendar, which started, um, let's see, the Julian calendar was meant to fix a messy Roman one. Yeah, no, but no, 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 no. That calendar was perfect. It's meant to hide what happened to the Latins, the Gallic Empire, the Western Roman Empire. That's when the scrubbing of history started. Had one scrubbing, that version of the Romans that we think and feel today, which is just legions and dun 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 dun, and men in togas, and everybody's in a toga, and everybody lived in villas, which is the furthest from the truth. By the time the split, no, I mean if you just look at all the European uh, architecture, not the modern European architecture, the pre-modern, all of that is Roman. The churches, the basilicas, all of that is Roman. They were super sophisticated, man. The Colosseum is amazing. So many buildings. Uh, the Parthenon. The Parthenon is still the largest single concrete structure in the world. Continues to be. So, again, sorry about all the pings and pops and all that stuff, but nobody seems to be uh, upset about it. So, um, just checking the chats, and everybody's kind of shy. And look, this is a channel that is reestablishing itself. So that is why I do not have a lot of traffic yet. Hopefully, that will be growing as as we move in to the new year, and I can put a little more effort into resources. So, but my theory is a staggering one, which is our calendars are way off because nothing went and got uh, fixed. So when Grok says in 54, in 54, in 34 BC, that is 34 BC, 2,700 years ago, Christ was a real being, okay, or the Christos. And the other thing that we have to appreciate about this C, this Christos is not Latin, it's Greek. So before the dominant Latins, there were the dominant Greeks and the Etruscans. They weren't isolated to a little area. That is just a rewrite of history. So, um, yeah, the 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 uh, the history that we are consuming right now around the world, and the history that I'm having to fight and not get no attention for, is because it's embarrassing. But nobody should be embarrassed. Everybody should be like, "Wow, okay, we've got to really start to fix this. We got to fix this because again, introduced 34 BC, the Julian calendar was meant to fix the messy Roman one. Yeah, so no, it was a rewrite of history. Um, so the Julian kept that date of 34 BC And then as we go over to the Gregorian calendar, that date of 34 BC sticks, and we're thinking it is 2,000 years ago when we're way off the mark, way off the mark. And this doesn't tell us the age of the Roman Empire or the Latin Empire. It really does not, because it took a long time to build those buildings across Europe. And here is my theory as to what happened. And by the way, more people are starting to notice. I was in a chat looking at a video, watching a video on YouTube about buildings and the Tartarian Empire, and people are starting to notice more and more. Tartar maybe, but all of these buildings in the Americas that we're looking at are Roman. And so I'm seeing more and more of that commentary. And I respond, yes, you're correct. And this is why. And get this map. And so yeah, we've had some amazing movements starting to happen. I'm not getting any traction, but I've got to keep working harder. Uh, and know that what I'm doing and seeing is correct, because nobody has gone back and fixed that date of 34 BC. So they need to be adding 700 and some odd years to it. So it is, um, and the BC 2000 is not the BC. The BC is 2,779 years ago, and the Christos was not Jewish, was not of any of the Jewish orders. Uh, he was uh, he was Mandamian, and the and so there are way older religions. The Persian Empire, the three Magi, the Magi, that was a Persian scholar. It could be one or three. Three gifts are mentioned: frankincense, gold, and myrrh, in the as the gift to the newborn king or the last sacrifice. And and yeah, it's uh, it's an amazing process that the rewrite of history has done, and they had to do it on purpose. They had to hide themselves, because they were hiding themselves from Europe until, as we've seen in previous episodes, finally the Europeans had enough shipping to be able to make it over across the Atlantic Ocean and find the Isles of the Antilles. And so the New World was already done, flourishing, beautiful buildings everywhere in Latin, but the world had to change for them, because the Europeans had finally found them. They were escaping Europe. So this is all this is all part of a process of rewriting history. If we look at this map that we've looked at a lot, we're going to see that all of this is in Latin. Okay? Oceanus Atlanticus Cantabre Mare. So these are all Latin names. Let me zoom in for you so you guys can see. Candrabicum Mare. You can't get any more Latin than that. Take a look. So Mare and Flaviona Flavion Avia. So we see that the Iberian Peninsula is in fact well established on this map from an atlas, and we have even Lusitania here. And here is Galicia with the two L's and the Latin AE. So this is a Latin map through and through. But what has happened in the rewrite of the history is now this cartographer, this French cartographer, is taking credit for creating this map. And this map would be absolutely useless for when it was published, which is Paris 1827. I'll give it that. Paris 1827. I'll even say Gregorian 1827. A couple hundred years ago. But we can see that these were done in two different styles, and that the cartographer here in the French, L'Espagne, was trying to mimic the style of the original lettering, but they couldn't do it. They just couldn't do it. The Latin were so much more sophisticated, the Romans, whatever you want to call them, than they'll ever let us give them credit for, because they wanted to stay hidden when that split happened. And I think that the the people that we consider the Latins were always running from civilization. I think that it had an amazing world pre-humanity, and not pre-humanity, pre-free choice humanity. Because I mean, this just looks like where I live, especially just paradise. There's no warring kind of names, no kind of invading names. And so I think they had a paradise, and I think there was a change to humanity's DNA in the Russian steppe area. And we came came over Germanic, Mongolian, everything. Um, and at 500 AD, again, we don't know which one. I'm guessing that it's going to be the Roman one. Caused um, all the people that were making these beautiful buildings to escape. But I think it was sooner than that. So there is a certain architecture that is Roman, and people are starting to notice. So this is a building in Mexico, and it has classic European architecture. Riddle me that one. Move that door. And that's the door for the giants. And they had giants. There's that now. I mean, especially from what I've seen, the architecture I've seen here in the north of Spain, the cathedrals, the entrances, what have you, they're all the same. Three entrances uh, that are made for giants. And I think the giants had a lot to do with building these magnificent these buildings. And another group of people that we do not uh, do not discuss at all are the long skulled beings, or as we know them, the elongated skull beings. They were there during the Egyptian Empire. Akhenaten, Nefertiti, and their children are depicted as long-skulled beings. They had no problem with it back then. There are several stone statues, not statues. Well, I don't know, but I've seen several depictions of the head in statuary that's elongated. So they were well established in the Egyptian Empire. And then they have found a lot of them over here in Latin America, and we don't know how many in Malta. So Malta was very, very important to elongated skull people, and there's just amazing architecture. The one thing that I can see pretty clearly is that the architecture follows the elongated skull people. So between the giants and the elongated skull people, they were able to build amazing architecture, beautiful, peaceful places. No forts, no fighting, nothing like that. Um, and we just see the forts as the humans are coming through. But the basis of the societies has always been peaceful, beautiful, tranquil gardens, water features. And this is Guadalajara. This is the cathedral of Guadalajara. And it is stunning. And it looks like it's right out of Germany, Spain, Rome, you name it. But no, it's in Guadalajara. Oh, yeah, because the Spanish came over and nope, nope, didn't happen like that. 14, if you want to go that way, then we got to go Gregorian. Then we got to do Gregorian because you're just missing everything I'm saying. So, okay, let's go Gregorian. It's 2025. I was born in 1965. Okay, so we're going back to my memory back then. 1492 is when Columbus discovered the Antilles Islands. So it took a long time for them to go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And then for the Spanish to find the dating that they give us, like 15, I think it's 1540, 1520, that they start with the Mexican mainland. So to get to Guadalajara, it had to take just to find it and do the conquest, as they tell us. I mean, it had to take 10, 10 years. I mean, this is just without vehicles, just sludging away. Okay, building forts, building temporary forts, going, and then just finding it. So we're well into the 1500s. So say they get everything established, and then they start building in the 1600s. They don't have the time, the talent, or the treasure to build something like this. It's just not there. It had to start in the 1600s, 17, 18, 1900s. I'm born. And there's no sign of the people that did this. Like Mexico is a proud country, y'all. Mexico is a proud country. And they talk about their grandfather and their great grandfather and what they did and what they did and what they did. And in all of the European cities, and now in the Central America, Latin America, there is nobody that can say, "Oh yeah, my great great grandfather built this," and there's legend and stories, and here's some pictures and some drawings. Nothing, because these are francs-maçons. These are francs-maçons. They are free masons, free homes, free buildings. So whenever the Americas were discovered, and again, discovered is not the word, detected is the word, as we have here in a Latin map. That was over here that Columbus was detected. They had to start rewriting history all throughout here. They had to start rewriting all of the history over here. And that's just a breathtaking thing to think. So we're going by what we've been told. And look, just to show you something else. That's the inside of this cathedral. Just the engineering alone. I don't want to talk about the architecture, the architect that had designed this, but just the engineering alone had to be breathtaking in design and calculations for all those arches to maintain that massive dome load. Some guy that's really good at carving stone ain't going to do it. That's not how it works. Sorry. All the legends that we've had, oh, and so, great builder, built this. No, one person can't do it. One person, it takes a team of architects, it takes a team of engineers, and then builders, and the scaffolding. You need massive scaffolding to support all of that infrastructure as you're creating the dome. And then after that, all of the filigree. So the decoration here is far more advanced than it was in than it is in Santiago de Compostela, which is one of their amazing, amazing towns that the Latins built. And then the Romans and then everybody else afterwards found. But look, there's no one in Spain that says my grandfather did this. And I remember 20th century Spain. It was the industrial north and then the very poor south. Spain was a very poor country in the 1960s and 70s. It wasn't until the European Union where money bombs came to make people to vote for the European Union that that Spain became the modern Spain that we see and feel today. But for many years, nope, it was a very poor country. So we did not have the technical abilities. I mean, back in the 1850s and prior, after the Romans left, Dark Ages and even the Renaissance, man, they had horses and oxen with wooden carts, with wooden wheels, with wooden um, with wooden axles that could not bear the load of this. And in the times of the conquistadors, same wooden axles, wooden wheels, wooden carts, oxen, and they didn't have that in Mexico. So there is no way the Spanish could have built this. No way whatsoever. And just to recap for everybody that's joining right now on the different streams, um, we are making a great point that the Roman Empire, when the East and West split, was not called, and we have been so miseducated. It was not the Eastern Roman Empire and Western Roman Empire. That's just, again, a history rewrite. The best sources that we have and the most ancient sources tell us of the Roman Empire and the Gallic Empire. The Gallic Empire consisted of Britain, Gaul, not Gaelic, Gaul, and Spain. And they split. There was a while where they were warring at the borders, and nothing was really happening because Rome was so busy in other areas. The Roman Empire was that the the Gallic Empire had time to escape to Mexico. Yes, Mexico, and not just any Mexico, but the west side of Mexico, the Pacific side of Mexico. And this makes sense now. We have Nova España and Nova Galicia on the west side of Mexico, the Pacific side, not the Mediterranean side. And they established this and they hid themselves from the Roman Empire. Again, let me reiterate that. They hid themselves from the Roman Empire. And yes, this is wild stuff. But the Gallic Empire, Galicia, hid themselves from the Roman Empire. I think the Gallic Empire consisted of advanced beings who had been pushed all the way to the edge of um, of Europe, and they had discovered long ago the Americas, did some exploring, and then started to colonize. While they were still here in Europe as an empire, they were colonizing the far side of Mexico because you just don't build up something like this in a couple of weeks, okay? You don't build this up. And as we've gone through and uh, done the work on looking at these maps and the research, how can I say it's Roman and it's Latin and it's the Latins of Latin time? Because all of this wording on this map is either Latin or Aztec, Navajo, which is the native empire, the native language of what would then become the Aztec Empire. So yeah, this is and mare is a good key for you people that are new to what I'm talking about. So yeah, this changes just like a Göbekli Tepe changes our view of history of Stonehenge and the pyramids as it should. We have to start studying the fact that at some point in time in Egypt, elongated skull people were living and thriving there, having little elongated skull babies. And in Peru and in throughout, well, mostly in Peru, though, I can say certainly, they have found elongated skull babies who have been mummified, who have died along the way. And these mummies were well hidden in the mountains and preserved. And know that these are not done by humans. The skull components and the sutures and where the spinal column is completely different to the modern human. So we definitely had giants because of these doorways. You just don't make those all over Europe and all over um, Russia. If Russia has uh, similar features but different architecture style. And then the Europe has a totally distinct but architectural style, but similar things: large doors, and then we had and that just and then I've seen some well done reliefs, especially in Santiago, Spain, that shows a giant with an elongated skull hidden by um, a helmet interacting with a smaller human. So this is all quite real, and so these elongated skull beings have been present throughout history, and they went over to um, Mexico, and then they absolutely thrived there too. And I think here we have a representation of some of the giants, and here are your regular sized people. And so uh, the cities started getting smaller, and then some of the obvious cities like Compostela had to go away. So there is a lot of signs of some great Latin architecture that they were attempting to destroy, and especially in Antigua, Guatemala. A beautiful cathedral there had been quote unquote damaged by an earthquake, which was impossible because the structure is just too massive and too overly well built for an earthquake to do anything to it. So they were attempting to destroy a lot of their old architecture before the humans could come over here, but the humans were coming too fast. And they started to integrate themselves. So also understanding that, not sure what happened to the elongated skull people. I do not know what happened um, to the giants. I do not know. I do not know if they disappeared, died off, were no longer too able to multiply. I doubt that. I just doubt that. So, um, so they had to rewrite the Americas in architecture and story with big, massive forests and destroy a lot of the old cities, especially the ones here. There's so many smaller cities throughout here that had to be destroyed and redone, and so much of the ground was redone too. Because you see this beautiful feature here, that no longer exists. That no longer exists on the modern maps, and we can take a look at that one day. But no, that was all filled in. And one of the things I can tell you that the Latins were masters at waterworks and rivers. So, water management here in North Spain is amazing, amazing, and it's all due to the Latins and the work they did. Ah, we're at 40 minutes. I am so sorry, everyone. I get to talking and I'll lose track of time. I thank you all for joining. Uh, it's a small channel rebuilding itself, and I've got some new information, new ideas, and hoping to get it out there and get some more eyes on this. So, if you're interested in anything that I am talking about, the book is Latin America. It is the link is in the description. Pick it up. It's got the maps. It's got all the details. It has the language studies and just something absolutely new and exhilarating. So, thank you all so much, and we will see you tomorrow at the same time. I hope everybody had a Merry Christmas. This is December 25th. Please like, share, and subscribe if you made it this long. And again, to help me get the word out, make a comment in the comment section. So let me know what you think because this is new. All right, everyone, thank you so much, and we'll see you tomorrow.